Welcome to the Columbus Blue Jackets 2019-20 Shotgun Season Preview. Thanks for joining me. I just want to say very quickly, if you happen to be watching these videos and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that big red button. I'm a small channel and could really use your help. Now, jumping right into Columbus's stats from last season. Now, they got 98 points, which is pretty good, but they still only squeaked into the playoffs. In their division, they finished 5th. They got that wild card spot that means they were 13th overall. Their offense was 12th in the league. They were 11th on defense. Their power play 28th overall. Ouch, that's got to improve. But they've lost, Panarin and Duchesne and Zingle. So I don't know. Maybe a new assistant coach. We'll see how that works out. Their penalty kill was tied for first with Tampa and Arizona. I don't see that digressing much, if at all. Now, speaking of the GM, Kekalainen, I really like this guy. I think he really endeared himself to the fans and the media, really, by going all in with his poker chips last year in acquiring Duchesne and Dzingel, amongst a few other depth guys in goal and forward and such. And, having to give away up a bit of the future, some draft picks to do it, but he kept the present together. So I don't think this team needs to rebuild, but it definitely needs some retooling. And he also endured himself to the players who were already there, who might be UFAs, RFAs in the future. Why? Because Columbus really doesn't sign that many UFAs in the free agent market. I think Bobrovsky was the last one, and maybe the only one. So it's not a big destination. So it's imperative that this guy just, bleeds, a winning mentality. Let's talk about the coach, John Tortorella. I think they should keep this guy. He does a great job of squeezing blood from a stone. And if anyone could get this team to do well and even make the playoffs, he can. However, he's lost that stud in goal, but we'll get to that in a second. Not only that, but who doesn't want John Tortorella in the playoffs talking to the media every day? I dare you to find one person who doesn't want that. He's great for the game. I think it attracts more fans, and just for him alone, I'd want to see Columbus make the playoffs. Now, moving on to let's talk about the forward units that they have here. So, now Daily Faceoff has the first line as Alexander Texier, Dubois, Atkinson. Second line, Nyquist, Wenberg, Bjorkstrand. Third, Foligno, Jenner, Anderson. Fourth, Dano, Nash, Bemstrom. I don't really agree with all of this, but when we talk about players overall, Cam Atkinson had 41 goals last season. This guy's 5'8" and 179 pounds, and he's 30 years old now. Can he do it again? I don't really think so. I think he could be good for at least 30 goals, though. And he's going to have to if this team is going to get anywhere. Now, Bjorkstrand is also going to have a good year, as is big boy Josh Anderson. Pierre-Luc Dubois looks like he's the real deal. I know Blue Jacket fans are so happy they picked him over Pulvari. Now to see how that has all turned out, at least from the time being. But where's Texier? They have him on the first line. He could also be on the second line here. Him and Nyquist might be interchangeable. But he was, speaking of rookies, he was fantastic when he jumped into the playoffs last season and somewhat, I want to say, the regular season as well. But he banged, he hit, he scored some goals. He really endeared himself to the coach. So look for him to take another step up. Then there's Emil Bemstrom, who you heard me mention on the fourth line. Now, he had a really dynamic year in the Swedish league, I want to say, and he has a good chance of cracking this lineup, if not even moving up it. Now, the problem they have, of course, as always, lies at center. Alexander Wenberg has had a down 2 years now in a row, and he's their second-line center. Yeah. Boone Jenner, who's really fast on his feet, but just doesn't seem to have any finish. But he has shown some in the past. He needs to pick it up. He's on the second power play. Hopefully, he can do more with that. Nick Foligno needs to have a good year. He seems to be up and down in that sense. I mean, he's a heart and soul player, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to numbers, he needs to pick it up this year for sure. Riley Nash, he could be trade bait at the end of the season. If they decide to bring in there's also Brandon Dubinsky, who also plays center as well. So Whether it's Nash or Dubinsky there, if they don't make the playoffs and it comes to the trade deadline, look for one of those two guys at least to be traded. You think Riley Nash, formerly of the Boston Bruins, he can spot in anywhere from the second up to the second line. He's good on face-offs, on the PK. He would be a good depth pickup for any team. Now, moving on, let's talk about the defense here. Philip Daily Faceoff has the top two, obviously, as Wierzynski and Jones. And then Murray Savard as the second. No surprise there. And then the third pairing as Dean Kukan and Nudivara. We'll get to that back in a second. But Columbus has probably one of the best top three in the league. If Ryan Murray can stay healthy, of course. David Savard is also nothing to sneeze at. He's a good he's a good defender. Now, when it comes to the bottom pairing, then that's when we looked at there could be some changes happening, some guys fighting for jobs there, and I'm talking specifically about Kay Cheller, who will be bringing in this year, named Vladislav Garyakov. He could make his way into that sixth role. He's done really well in the KHL the past couple of seasons. And then there's also players like Scott Harrington, Gabriel Carlson, Adam Clendenning. They've got a really lot of depth on their defense, especially when you consider the top four that they have. Now, goaltending, it's the biggest X factor there is out there. That's not a surprise to anyone after Bobrovsky left. There's no more horse in net. What's Tortorella going to do? He's got to rely on Korpisalo is what he's got to do, because the only guy they went to pick up during the offseason is not a proven one. This guy's a big question mark. And I'm speaking of Elvis Merzirkelins, who I'm just going to continue referring to as Elvis from now on. Now, this guy was goalie of the year the last 2 years in the Swiss League, and he's got a lot of confidence. Let's see if he can walk the walk in the NHL. Maybe he'll even take the leading job away from Korpisalo. But speaking of Korpisalo, now in his rookie year, which was in 2015-16, he played his most games that he's ever played, which was 31, and he had his best save percentage, which is .920. His rookie season. Now, in the season afterwards, in 2016-17, he had a .905 save percentage and played 14 games. And then the last couple of years, he's had a .897 save percentage. Last year, he played 27 games. This guy's your 1A goaltender? What? So I just don't know if this team is going to make the playoffs, and they could finish as low as 8th, really, and that's sort of where I'm guessing they're going to go with the competition that's out there. I mean, the Metro is a little bit wide open, so it is a slim possibility. I definitely don't see them finishing any higher than 3rd, and I see them finishing as low as 8th. If they don't get some depth scoring and their goalies just both flop. Because Montreal will be hungry. Islanders, the Carolina Hurricanes. Jersey could surprise some people this year. Pittsburgh, bubble. We'll see about that. But you know what I mean? After the top 4 teams in the Atlantic, and I'm talking about Toronto, Tampa, Boston, and Florida. Florida, don't throw champagne in my face 3 times. Thank you. They should make the playoffs as well. Now, when we're talking about the cap situation that they've got, you heard me mention it earlier, they've got over $13 million in cap space, and they didn't go out and get a proven NHL backup or goaltender of any sort. So that's pretty surprising there. Now, when it comes to their UFAs and their RFAs, from the forward standpoint, they've got 2 RFAs, but they're big. One is Pierre-Luc Dubois, who's got no arbitration rights, and the second, who's 21 years old, by the way, and the second is big boy Josh Anderson, who's 25, who made $1.850 million with arbitration right. He's going to demand a raise. They shouldn't have a problem paying either of those guys. And on defense, there's no UFAs. There's one RFA with arbitration rights, and that's Dean Kukan, who's age 26. From the goalie standpoint, they're both going to be RFAs next year. Korpisalo will have arbitration rights. He's making $1.150 million at the moment. There you have it. That's it. That's all. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. Where you think they're going to finish? What's going to be their issue on offense, defense, goalies especially. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you really liked it, smash that subscribe button. And if you happen to have any hockey geek friends, please don't feel shy about sharing. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.